The latest news on trans fats is that they can lead to aggressive behavior, in addition to what we already know about how trans fats affect the fat ratios in our bodies. The insulin response, aging, inflammation, and heart health. A recent study looking at the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey data found that blood levels of trans fats of a nationally representative sample of Americans had declined by a whopping 58%. This significant drop can be linked to the fact that some cities and regions have instigated trans fat bans, and the government has required the labeling of the fat on all nutrition facts labels. And most consumers today know it's an ingredient to avoid. The lead researcher, Beatrice Golomb, who's the associate professor at the University of California, San Diego Department of Medicine, comments, if the association between trans fats and aggressive behavior proves to be causal, this adds further rationale to the recommendation to avoid eating trans fats or including them in foods provided at institutions, including schools and prisons, since the detrimental effects of trans fats may extend beyond the person who consumes them to affect others. Researchers also said greater trans fat intake was more consistently predictive of aggression and irritability across the measures tested than the other known aggression predictors that were assessed. Now, not all fats are bad. Omega-3 fatty acids that are found in fatty fish, such as salmon, mackerel, as well as from seeds like chia and flax, have been linked to reduced aggression and irritability. Now, there is one more trans fat caution. Consumption of trans fats actually inhibits the omega-3 production. A powerful diabetes fighter when the Lempert Report continues.
ConAgra Foods. With brands like these, we can't help but smile. ConAgra Foods. Food you love.
Research is finding more and more about the benefits of exercise and moving around, as well as the dangers of being sedentary. The latest study, published in the journal Diabetes Care, found that taking breaks to walk every 20 minutes instead of staying seated for hours helps reduce the body's level of glucose and insulin, especially after eating. David Dunstan, one of the authors of the Diabetes Care study and a professor at Baker IDA Heart and Diabetes Institute in Australia, explains, when we sit, our muscles are in a state of disuse, and they're not contracting and helping our bodies regulate many of the body's metabolic processes. Therefore, much of the energy that we're consuming from food is not being used and remains in our bloodstream waiting to be used by our muscles and organs. Eating refined carbohydrates and other glycemic high index foods causes a greater glucose and insulin spike after meals and is tied to a greater risk of heart disease and diabetes, and insulin is necessary to help use glucose or blood sugar for energy or to store it for later use. Dunstan's team looked at 3 controlled scenarios in sedentary overweight adults, testing their insulin and blood sugar levels every hour. They found that when participants walked around every 20 minutes, their blood sugar spike was reduced an average of 24% versus staying seated for hours after eating the same meal. There was a nearly 30% difference with moderate intense activity. The study's author says it's still not clear whether the reduction will translate to health benefits, but we do know from previous studies that keeping blood sugar levels within a certain range is ideal for optimal health. The Lempert Report uploads right here 3 times a week with the information you need to stay ahead of the trends. For more, just visit thelempertreport.com.